God, it was almost like dessert, but savory.
The Tres Leches cake was like outrageous.
It's spicy, salty, and it's just a true party in your mouth.
You take that garlic bread and dip into everything.
Check Please Bay Area is made possible by the members of KQED and by Total Wine & More, offering more than 8,000 wines, 2,500 beers, and 3,000 spirits. Total Wine & More, now with 9 Bay Area locations. TotalWine.com.
Redwood Credit Union offers personal and business banking, mobile access, and nationwide ATMs. It's banking for people who call this home and the future we're building together. Redwood Credit Union.
The national recognition for healthcare equality. It's 1,000 things, big and small. Sutter Health.
Oakland International Airport. Now with flights all over the world. iFlyOAK.com.
Hi, I'm Leslie Sabraco. Welcome to Check Please Bay Area, the show where regular Bay Area residents review and talk about their favorite restaurants. We have 3 guests, and each one recommends one of their favorite spots, and the other 2 go check them out to see what they think. This week, real estate agent Roman Fan explores the wide, wide world of barbecue at his bustling pick in San Francisco. And nightlife event producer Kate Van Dyke arranges an evening of delicious tapas in Sonoma County's wine country. But first, product manager Ann Diaz takes us for tamales at her nearly 100-year-old historic spot in San Francisco's Mission District. With a motto of always thoughtful, never fussy, sink into comforting Mexican meals at Roosevelt Tamale Parlor.
Well, the restaurant has been here, not at this exact location, but it's been around for almost 100 years.
And when we were looking to buy a restaurant, we found that this place was available and kind of in need of some TLC to keep it going. We decided what a great thing to do to preserve this tradition in this neighborhood and community that everybody values so much.
So when we originally bought the restaurant, there were over 150 items on the menu, and so we just pared it down.
We make everything from scratch here at the restaurant. So our margaritas are made with Sabe Blanco, which is a blend of tequila and sake. So you get all the flavor of the actual spirit, and margaritas taste great.
And when we purchased the place, we kept most of the staff. And the woman who makes the tamales, she's been working here for 25 years.
And she's a native Mexican woman who has brought all of her home traditional recipes with her. And together with Barry has, modernized them a little bit and fine-tuned them so that the food has a really nice basis in traditional Mexican recipes, but it also has a really nice modern touch. We both contribute to the decoration. We get to leave our Christmas lights up all year round.
Really, the most important thing for us is that we wanted people to come in and feel really comfortable, and they can sit down and not want to leave.
Now, Ann, it's interesting because this place is really defined by its sign. It is. The sign has been around for 100 years.
Yes. Right. The current incarnation, I absolutely love it because I think their menu reflects a very traditional sort of home-style Mexican meals, but at the same time, there are some really fun twists that Barry and Aaron, who are the owners, continually add to the menu.
When you walk in the door, do you say, I need to start with this?
We are always really, really excited, actually, as we get the chips and the salsa. We ask for both hot and mild.
It's hot.
The hot is really, really hot. Like, they don't mess around with spice at all. And so a tip is to get both the mild and the hot. You can kind of mix them together. I love when I walk in and just the smell of the masa and the different types of sauces, the gravy. It just, to me, it feels very comforting and very, very much like home.
Into a house, almost.
Totally. It's so comforting and welcoming when you go in, and even the service kind of reflects that. All the servers we had, I mean, so kind, really warm, like we kept saying we just really want to hang out with them afterwards.
Yes.
They're like
Yes.
really fun.
And I thought you just
cool.
told me that.
I know, sorry, Leslie. I mean, I say that to everybody. Yeah.
What did you start with?
So we started with the guacamole. It was really fresh and more limey than, you know, salty or anything, but it was still really good.
We also started with the guacamole and chips. Everything actually seemed like it was homemade and freshly made. The guacamole was chunky, very acidic, and just really, really good. What I really liked was their tomatillo salsa, which was also homemade.
Yeah, and the chips were really good. Yeah.
So they fry their own chips.
Yeah.
What do you get after you get the chips?
Yeah, so we also got this last time the plantain empanadas, and one thing that is really interesting about those is the crust is actually made out of plantain. It's not a dough. So a lot of the menu is gluten-free.
About 80% of the menu is gluten-free.
Yeah, and we always get a tamale plate. So when we went last time, I got the 2 tamale plate. My favorite are the chivas. It's a vegetarian tamale. Yeah,
good.
they're filled with purple potatoes, butternut squash, a little goat cheese, and then over the top there's a tomatillo salsa, and they sprinkle pepitas.
Yeah.
It is so delicious. It kind of reminds me of fall. It's almost cinnamony and savory.
They actually have yams as well in there, which brought a little sweetness to it.
Just fantastic.
What were the other tamales that you got?
So they have a pork tamale,
That was
carnitas.
my favorite.
Yeah, that was your favorite.
I love the pork. The pork tamale was smoky, savory, a little bit of spicy. It actually brought me back to my friend's mother's tamales that they make every holiday.
The holiday
Yeah.
time, absolutely.
Oh my God.
A signature dish for them.
Pozole
was
was
great.
my favorite thing that we had. It was really well seasoned and these huge chunks of pork, but so soft, like pull apart so easily. And then with a really nice little side plate of fresh veggies to top it with the cabbage and the radish. So good. I think chunky was the right word. You used it to describe the guacamole. Also, like the tamales are really chunky. There's like a lot of meat and texture in it. Yeah, that was our favorite dish of the whole thing.
And did you wash it down with anything? Did you have anything to drink alongside it?
We did. I thought
it's not a full bar at this.
No, yeah. Which we got very tricked by that. Not in a bad way. I think it's a good thing because we ordered the margaritas. We didn't even know.
Yes.
And then somebody was like, "Oh yeah, there's not really tequila in that." We were like, "Oh well, they're working, and this is great."
Yes, they're really good, and they are deceptive. And they come in this really fun glass that looks
Yeah.
like a cactus. There's salt on the rim.
I had the agua fresca, the prickly pear version.
How was
It
that?
was good. It wasn't really sweet, but it was great. It paired perfectly with all the food I had.
Yeah. What about desserts? Anybody?
Okay, the tres leches cake was like outrageous. It was so good.
Yes.
And it's like a huge serving, this really large mound. And then it has the tart raspberry, but they're really fresh. They're not like jam. So it cuts that sweetness. Like I will go back for that.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too. And Erin changes the menu up. Also, when we were there, we got the deep fried cinnamon apple pie.
That was my favorite.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, the crust is perfectly crispy. The apples on the inside, tons of cinnamon, tons of sugar.
It was drizzled with the caramel. They had vanilla bean ice cream. It was actually like an apple empanada.
Yeah.
It was just great together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Now this is your spot. Wrap it up for us, Sam.
Yeah, if you are in the mood for home style, comforting, giant portions, go to Roosevelt in the Mission.
And Roman.
For a home style Mexican food, try Roosevelt.
And Kate.
I'd say drop the burrito in SF and head to Roosevelt's for tamale and the best tres leches cake you'll ever have.
All right. If you would like to try Roosevelt Tamale Parlor, it's located on 24th Street at Bryant in San Francisco. The telephone number is 415-824-2600. It's open for dinner Tuesday through Saturday, lunch Friday through Sunday with brunch on the weekends. Reservations are accepted for groups of 6 or more, and the average dinner tab per person without drinks is around $20. Kate's spot in the North Bay is a wine country favorite. In stark contrast to many other spots you may visit, her pick is highly lauded yet casual and welcoming. In Healdsburg, this is Bravas Bar De Tapas.
Our first restaurant was Willie's Wine Bar, and that was 2002. 2002.
Yes.
And we had moved up here to Sonoma and absolutely fell in love with it.
We didn't set out to open a Spanish restaurant. We went to Spain, loved it.
Wow. We just fell in love with the food, the culture, the people, but really the way that they eat. All these beautiful small plates, and it becomes really less about what you're eating and more about who you're eating with. It's very simple cuisine, but some of the hardest to actually replicate. So on the weekends, we do the traditional large format paella over an open fire. You know, paella is a camp food. You go camping, you take your pan, you take your rice, you get some snails, you get a rabbit, you make lunch, but you do it over an open fire.
For us, the communal style eating, you know, breaking bread with people. You can come in, maybe you're not that hungry, you know, whatever. You can make it as big or as small as you want, and it's just a really good way to share food with your friends, your family, in a relaxed environment like it is in Spain. And, you know, honestly, there's nothing else like that in this area, so that's what I love about this concept.
Okay, now Healdsburg is a drive for some people, isn't it?
It is a drive for some people, and apologies if that was kind of a surprising trek.
But it's a destination.
It is, and this restaurant alone is a destination. We've started planning trips around this restaurant. So the moment we went there, we came from a camping trip, and we saw a neon sign that said "Jamon in." And that pun really got us. That was a welcome pun. And so we walked to the back of the patio, and it's this huge patio with this really nice bar outside. Actually, my fiance really wanted to watch the Warriors game, and there's these two tiny little TVs at the bar. So it's this really casual but very beautiful, warm environment, and that's just the outside patio. The restaurant's in a house.
Right.
So
it's a 100-year-old house. I mean,
yeah.
What do you typically order?
We do get the jamon iberico because, and you kind of have to, and it is
and jamon iberico is one of the world's best.
It's amazing.
Foods, period.
Yeah. And it is one of those it's expensive, it's imported, but the flavor is fantastic, and you just don't get to have it very often in the States.
Well, we also started with the jamon, and it was just melt in your mouth. Yeah. Delicious. I mean, we finished that entire plate in, 2 minutes.
I know, it takes
something. It was absolutely worth the drive.
And then we always get the croquettas, which are insane. They're perfectly fried. You break them open. They're creamy. They pull apart, salty. The flavors are delicious and warm. And we usually get another serving after that.
Just to make sure that you liked them.
Yeah.
We actually started with the croquetas as well. My wife and I visited Spain. The only thing she remembered was the croquetas that we had over there. So when we had it there, it was nice and crispy, creamy, little chunks of jamon in there. We ordered 3 of those.
Yeah.
Just to, keep it going.
That's all right.
Yeah.
What did you have next?
We also started with the roasted cauliflower appetizer.
Oh,
so it's
so good.
Oh my God, it was almost like dessert, but savory. So it's roasted cauliflower with this really pungent blue cheese, huge chunks of bacon, and this sauce. I don't know what was in that sauce, but I wanted to lick the plate, please.
It
was
the best
so
vegetarian dish you could ever have.
Oh my God, with bacon.
Yeah.
My next favorite thing was the steamed clams. The sauce, I had to get the pan oliva to dip into the sauce. They don't provide bread for you, but it was nice and acidic and flavorful. Yes.
And then we actually, for our main, ended up getting the whole Lassen trout.
Oh, how was
it was absolutely incredible, and it was beautiful. I mean, people at other tables started looking over and saying oh, what is that?
Right, yeah.
Because they bring you this entire trout just prepared perfectly. They slice it in the middle, and it's filled with slices of lemon and herbs, and so you can kind of flip it open and the meat just falls off the bone. The skin was perfectly crispy. It's served with a giant salad and garlic bread. So I was really glad we actually had that, because since they don't serve you bread, we had to take that garlic bread and dip into everything else.
We usually just go down the tapas list, but the entree we did get this last time was the paella. It's really moist Every like seafood thing in there is cooked to perfection. It's not too tough. They didn't overcook it, and it's super salty, which I love. So it was this beautiful dish of paella.
Yeah. So what did you drink with that? When you say the salty paella, you know, I'm thinking, because they have Spanish wines, certainly, great chocolate and toro.
My wife and I had the cava and red sangria. It was fruity.
Had a little kick.
Quite a kick. I don't drink a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
So we did have to walk it off a little bit.
I know. We also do the gin and tonics, which is like so authentically Spanish.
That's what I had, and it was amazing. The one that I got was with Levante gin, and it had a slice of orange in it, threads of saffron, and cardamom pods. And all of those elements just added like a little something to the drink. Oh my gosh.
It's so different from like the normal
Spanish gin tonics are an art form of themselves, certainly.
We did also have the potatoes bravas, which was crispy on all sides. The aioli that came with it was great. You know, when you can get potatoes crispy on all sides, it's just like a party.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Any other dishes? Or?
Yeah, the octopus I'd say is another standout. It's not tough at all. It has a nice charcoal flavor to it. They really get the textures of everything right. Nothing's overcooked. Everything's tender.
And what about desserts?
We do the rum balls.
The rum balls.
That was the best.
The rum balls with the Strauss soft serve vanilla ice cream, and we topped ours with tangerine oil and sea salt. It's so good and so simple, and you just dip those donut type things deep fried into this amazing soft serve.
I feel like those two things were made for each
Yeah,
other. The creaminess of the soft serve with the hot, delicious, crispy,
kind of
glazed.
All right.
I know.
Your spot, wrap it up for us, Kate.
For a laid-back backyard vibe with Sonoma County quality and some Spanish authenticity, hit Bravas.
And Roman.
For great croquettas, visit Bravas in Healdsburg.
And Ann.
Wonderful rum balls, wonderful gin tonics, fantastic food, well worth the drive.
All right, if you would like to try Bravas Bar De Tapas, it's located on Center Street in Healdsburg. The telephone number is 707-433-7700. It's open for lunch and dinner every day. Reservations are recommended, and the average meal per person without drinks is around $30. Post your favorite food shots on Instagram with the hashtag Bay Area Bites and have a chance to see your food pics on the show. Roman's Pick melds flavors and cooking styles from across the globe. With a diverse meat-driven menu, it's helmed by famous food personalities and frequented by elite Bay Area athletes. Take a time out to try International Smoke.
International Smoke is a collaboration between myself and Aisha Curry, and it's really focused in on barbecue from around the world. Hi, I'm Michael Mina, and you're at International Smoke. So barbecue is where all food really started, right? Wood grilling and barbecue, and there's American barbecue on the menu, but that's a small portion, maybe 20%. Then we take influences from Korean barbecue, Japanese barbecue, Middle Eastern barbecue, and then create our own dishes and try to put them together with a menu that's really well balanced, has a lot of seafood and a lot of vegetables on the menu as well. Anybody who knows me knows how much I love sports. This has been a great experience because, you know, I really got into this because of Aisha. And of course, it's great to get to go to some Warrior games too. Honestly, this has really been probably one of the most rewarding restaurants I've ever been involved in, and it's because I've never seen a dining room that has so much diversity in the room. And you can come in here any night of the week, and the diversity is just beautiful. We've tried to keep it as approachable as we possibly can and still do the level of food and service that we want to do, because we want people to come here all the time, which they do, and just really be able to keep it accessible to a lot of people.
All right, first off, are you a Warriors fan?
Definitely a Warriors fan.
Talk a little bit about what you like about International Smoke.
If you wanted to have drinks, you can go to the bar and watch basketball, of course, or you can have a nice romantic dinner on the other side.
Yeah, it's a big place.
It's a big place. Yeah.
Yeah, we started with the double duck wings, and I always have to have the double duck wings when I get there. Perfectly crispy on the outside. There's 2 different sauces that they use. One is, I believe, that they use for their Asian-style ribs. It's nice and tangy, sweet. But my favorite one is their chimichurri sauce. It's spicy, salty, savory, and it's just a true party in your mouth.
Yeah.
What was your experience when you went?
It was really warm. The bar was really cool. And then we got sat at this beautiful booth they're kind of elevated, so you have a view of the restaurant, which is really nice, and they're super cozy. And yeah, it was a cool atmosphere, yes. And especially with like the graffiti on the columns and stuff. It's got like a little bit of an Oakland like hip hop vibe. We started with the Wagyu, which had really fun presentation and comes out super quick, like crazy quick. It comes kind of partially cooked and it's sizzling, and it's these large chunks of Wagyu beef and then these lettuce cups with like a little tangy sweet sauce to drizzle on top. Although I didn't drizzle as much because the beef itself was so good and it's so tender that was actually one of my favorite dishes. They have this like whipped smoked burrata that comes to the table, and there's like smoke that exits out of it. So there's definitely some fun
theater
elements. Exactly.
Yeah. So talk to me about what you had when you walked into International Smoke.
One of the dishes we got was shrimp, just grilled shrimp. I was expecting like a couple skewers on a plate.
Yeah.
It comes out on this sizzling platter, and the waiter brought kind of a tea kettle full of, he said, this is lemongrass scent, and he poured it on top of this skillet, and it evaporated and just gave this amazing aroma to the whole dish. And the shrimp themselves are also on top of this bed of salt. It was really beautiful and so unusual and absolutely fantastic. It was just delicious.
Well, again, different cooking styles, East meets West, North meets South, all sorts of flavors going on in every dish, aren't there?
We got the American ribs, and they were really good and super tender and had a nice bite, but they were pretty clean, not very saucy, and not too much smoke. It was everything leaned a little bit sweeter than smoky.
Did you have the ribs as well?
Yeah, we actually decided to go and get the whole rack of ribs. So you get 3 different flavors. And I have to say, I think the American barbecue flavor was the least interesting of the 3. It also comes with al pastor, which has some chopped pineapple on the top. That was my favorite. It was kind of spicy, actually very, very smoky. And then there's a Korean flavor as well, sesame
Little more
and
heat.
exactly with gochujang sauce that was absolutely delicious.
What else do you get?
I had the ribeye.
Ribeye. Bring on the meat.
Yeah, the ribeye was perfectly cooked. So actually the steak was really nice and smoky and
kind of charred.
Yeah. And it came with also potatoes on the side, which was crispy on all sides.
You like the crispy potatoes.
Yeah.
We're getting a theme here.
Yeah, we actually also got the maitake mushrooms, and they're served smoked with this really creamy, delicious sauce underneath. And so you can kind of carve up the mushrooms and dip it into this sauce, and they were really savory, a lot of umami flavor, and very, very smoky.
So
what about some other drinks? They do have a teetotaler section too, where they have lots of different iced teas. And what did you all have to drink?
Gin tonic. There's a theme here, and it was delicious. It was gigantic.
I had the
so good.
actually Voice of Reason. It's a non-alcoholic drink. It was a great blend of sour with the soda water and the pineapple juice.
Yeah.
And what about desserts?
We tried the custard trio.
The palette of pudding.
Yeah.
Pudding was
And
great.
I think my favorite was the creme brulee. I'm like a child of creme brulee. I was an odd child, and as an 8-year-old was like, creme brulee, please. So that actually harkened back to my childhood, and I really did like it.
My favorite one was the butterscotch pudding. It had a hint of, I think, bourbon in it. It was nice and creamy, not too sweet. It was just really, really good.
Good way to end the meal.
Yes.
I think the 3 of us could all go get the trio of pudding together,
Yeah,
because my favorite was the Black Forest.
So
Like,
you
that
have
was
one
my
of each.
favorite one.
Absolutely. All right, this is your spot. Wrap it up for us.
So if you want international flavors with great barbecue, try International Smoke.
Okay, and Ann.
Fun, smoky, boozy, delicious food.
All right.
If you have the company credit card, head to International Smoke, expense it, and you'll find flavors everyone likes.
All right, if you would like to try International Smoke, it's located on Mission Street at Beale in San Francisco. The telephone number is 415-543-7474. It's open for lunch Monday through Friday and dinner every night. Reservations are recommended, and the average tab per person without drinks is around $50. I want to thank my great guests on this week's show. Ann Diaz, who invited us to her Mission District spot for classic Mexican offerings at Roosevelt Tamale Parlor. Kate Van Dyke, who organized an excursion to Sonoma County wine country for distinctive bites and sips at Bravas Bar De Tapas. And Roman Fan, who shared his backyard barbecue find frequented by ballers and shot callers. International Smoke in San Francisco. We really want to hear about your experiences at any of the restaurants we've been talking about, so keep in touch with us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Or better yet, post your favorite food shots on Instagram at #BayAreaBites and have a chance to see your food pics on the show. And don't forget that you can watch any of the shows on our website at kqed.org/checkplease. It's where you'll find links to the restaurants and where you'll find my notes on the wines and libations we're drinking today. So join us next time when 3 more guests will recommend their favorite spots right here on Check Please Bay Area. I'm Leslie Sabraco, and I'll see you then. Cheers! 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 Did you have fun? Yes.
Check Please Bay Area is made possible by the members of KQED and by Oakland International Airport, now with flights all over the world. iFlyOAK.com.
It's the national recognition for healthcare equality. It's 1,000 things, big and small, Sutter Health.
Redwood Credit Union offers personal and business banking, mobile access, and nationwide ATMs. It's banking for people who call this home and the future we're building together. Redwood Credit Union.
Cooking is the first kind of love you know. It was starting when I was a child, with my grandmother doing fresh pasta, and now I transmit it to all the guests. It's something made specially for them.
Oceana Cruises, proud sponsor of Check Please Bay Area.
Total Wine & More offering more than 8,000 wines, 2,500 beers, and 3,000 spirits. Total Wine & More now with 9 Bay Area locations. TotalWine.com.